Thank you for listening to 2013 and Beyond with Rashmi Kilnani and Jeremy McDonald. If you'd like to know more about Rashmi, you can check her out at rashmikilnani.com or more about Jeremy at www.jeremymcdonald.net. And now for our show.
Hello, everybody, and we are welcoming everybody here for listening to 2013 and Beyond. Hi, Rashmi. Just got on the line, and we're just now starting. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Jeremy?
Good. We had some connection problems. I was having trouble getting the show started there for a few seconds. I kept on calling, and it wouldn't connect, and now we're finally connected like 30 seconds before the show started. So we're doing good. So
it hasn't started yet, right?
No, it just now started like 20 seconds ago. So
okay.
We're live. So we're just going to run with it. How are things in London?
Well, we've got some spring weather now, so the magnolia is out, and I was watching the peacocks and the daffodils in Holland Park. Very beautiful.
Wow.
And in Florida?
It's in the 80s right now, actually. So it's doing very well, and I had an appointment earlier today at noon, and then I had another one at 10 o'clock this morning. So it's doing really good. We're just trying to keep ourselves organized. So we're going to be talking about Ascension today of the Earth. It's a big hot topic right now, after December of 2012. A lot of people have been asking me the questions, how can we call it Ascension when there's so many things going on in the world? Are we really ascending? And what am I supposed to be doing for myself? And, what do I need to plan for? I mean, these are questions you might be getting as well. So it might be a good topic for us to talk about today.
Sure. So I'll let you begin.
Definitely. Well, I mean, that's one of the biggest questions. So everybody, just thank you for tuning in. This is 2013 and Beyond with Rashmi Kilnani and Jeremy McDonald. And Rashmi is, of course, as you notice, she's calling in from London, England, and I'm in Tampa, Florida. And but here's the things that we want to discuss. We've been doing this show for a few months now, and on a monthly basis, and we're just kind of gathering the questions that we've been getting or what we feel from people that we run into or come into contact where we speak at. And one of the consistent things is that everybody talks about ascension. Well, what does ascension look like? And the other question is that am I ascending, and how do I know? Or what do I do to help myself ascend? And that. I think there's some detail, some in-depth details to that. But what I will tell you is that the other question is that how can it possibly be ascending into a better world when I see so many things happening within the world? Example this last week with what happened in Boston, and the plain and simple answer, and we can get deeper into this, is that anytime we're changing into something, growing into something better or different or more awakened, there's going to be growing pains heading into that direction. And it looks super, super negative with the physical eyes, but we don't know what the universal consciousness is doing and how that's affecting people. And with the energy that's coming in, it's literally pushing against everybody's blocks and issues. And in some cases, it's kind of sending people off the deep end a little bit. And, helping them either remove blocks or they're not able to handle it. And some of them are exiting the planet. There's a lot of people getting cancer and, are getting sick and leaving the planet so they can come back in a different form and help with the ascension of the planet. So I don't know how you think about that, Rashmi, where you're at on what the Ascended Masters have been telling you.
Well, we're all in the middle of this incredible time. And I think most of our listeners understand that Ascension is not a place we go to. It's not a location thing, but it's an inner journey thing. It's to do with vibration, frequency, and the raising of our frequency and vibration. And did we discuss last time 6 powerful ways in which we can raise our frequency very easily? Did we discuss that?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Well, six beautiful ways that I came across recently that I totally believe in, and you can share some, is like singing, dancing, laughter, good food, obviously, that's healthy for you, nature, the animals, like your doggies. And what was the last one? I've forgotten right now. But there are many others, like meditation and so on. So I realized that it was my mother that seemed to get the maximum points on those, because she literally incorporates all these in her life on a daily basis. So that's really powerful. And obviously, as we keep sharing more and more, that's going to help. We can't ascend through the mind, and just understanding the definition of ascension through the mind is not going to help people. So what I'm finding a lot amongst the teachers and the healers and the light workers is that in the West particularly there is a tendency to look at the most esoteric wisdom from a mental point of view. And that's a good start. It's a good baby step. But we have to go within and go into the silence. Ultimately, these frequencies are beyond definition. They're beyond the mind. They're beyond the intellectualization. And they're also way beyond techniques, though, of course, all those things are totally valid. We have to go into the silence like the yogis did, and not be too obsessed with definition.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I think in the calmness, and I think that's the hardest thing for people to understand until you actually experience that quiet space, and you're so deep into that stillness or quiet that you get it at that point, and you get part of it, a good understanding. And I just, trying to explain that to somebody with a definition, you can't really do it, because you could say stillness, but then they go into whatever their definition of stillness is, and until they get into that area of experiencing it, then they go, oh, now I get what you mean. And so
we have to, we're all coming into the heart energy right now. So we have the photonic energy, we have the solar flares, we have so much light energy. We didn't manifest reality from the outside to the within, and that's where the New Age movement and the so-called New Age movement, etc., is at. But the inner movement is the unmanifest world, the absolute reality, where all is already one, where all is already ascended, where all is way beyond dimensions of even 5th, 6th, 10th, 15, 20. All that is still within the realm of manifest reality. So I'm just going to take this particular radio show to a completely different space right now, a space that generally I don't hear amongst Western teachers. They don't go to that space. That's that space of unmanifest, where we're not even discussing protons, photons, electrons. We're not discussing dimensions. We're not even discussing ascended masters like my student. She's been my student for years and years, and she was channeling Babaji 20 years ago. And she was a Reiki master when I met her, and she's 20 years older than me, and she's powerful. But, sometimes she forgets that when I channel Babaji, Mahavatar Babaji, Lord Shiva, there is no separation in that moment between Rashmi's soul and the Oversoul, between the Ascended Master and that which seems to be me here now in a body on earth speaking to you. So, all this separation has to stop. And yes, within that, of course, individuality and uniqueness, and each of us have our beautiful ways. Jeremy has his way of teaching and healing and channeling, and I have mine, and everybody has theirs, and that's really important too right now, because we're all goddesses waking up to our co-creation. This is the Mayan glyph of conscious co-creation, as we all know, and everybody's asking, how do I consciously co-create? First of all, where do I find my soulmates to co-create with? Everybody's stressed out and, stuff like that. So it's all very important to enjoy the duality dance, but we have to understand that at the center, every single archangel, the devil, and everything else is all one. I don't know how you feel about that, Jeremy.
Yeah, and that's I'm there with you. And when you talk about the unmanifest, I heard a similar explanation of that years ago, and I really believe in it. It's the untangible world. This world we consider to be very tangible, but everything within this world is untangible. That we think it's all going to last forever. We think it's always going to be here, but everything here is impermanent. And so when you get to that space of realizing that everything is is created within a understanding that all this is going to end or change and have a new beginning. It's always going to end and begin. But then, and if you get into your soul, or your, not even in definition of a soul, let's just throw that out as well. It's like I saw an explanation from a friend of mine recently where she said, we have to let go of all concepts of what God is.
Absolutely.
And when we let go of that concept, then we can try to understand the true nature of what God is, because there's no definition that can define what is omnipresent, I guess would be the word to use. But even that,
you can't perceive the unmanifest pure potentiality of all that is with the mind. It's like an ant trying to define a matchbox. It's an impossibility. But of course, we begin somewhere. So what the Ascension teachers are teaching is, it's important now for us to embody our soul energy into the body, to ground the body, to bring heaven on earth, which is very important, and what's happening right now within this realm of the raising of frequencies from where we are in 3D reality to the next octave, which is the fourth, and resting there, but then moving on to the fifth, which is beyond time and space. And this heartfelt energy, which is not the emotional heart, it is the whole brain aspect, the right and the left hemispheres of the brain marrying each other, logic and illogic, the intuitive side, the feminine goddess energy awakening, the alchemy of the yin and the yang and the polarities, transcending the polarities, and all these amazing things that everyone is discussing and teaching and guiding and talking about. But, at the end of the day, somehow we are in the age of information, which is really exciting. But if we don't get back to simplicity, which is what my new book, Shiva Speaks, Mahavatar Babaji teaches us here now, Conversations with him. He talks about truth, simplicity, and love. And love is not a technique. It's not something you can really teach anybody. You can only be love, and through that frequency, it affects everything around you, including everybody else. And that's why a lot of the so-called gurus in the East just sat there quietly, and people would just come, and people like Ram Dass, I think, in the West, it's Ram Dass, isn't it? The great American teacher who lives in Maui near Wayne Dyer. He gets it totally, he's not talking about techniques. He had very powerful Indian gurus. I mean, it just so happened that they were Indian, named Karoli Baba and that lineage. And he understood, and he was able to transcend this Western tendency to just somehow, even at the subtlest levels, intellectualize the truth, because how do we explain this? As we go back to this, Jeremy, the unmanifest is like a womb. If the mother's womb is not empty, the baby can't be born. It's the black hole energy. It's from the black hole energy that universes manifest. So that silence, that nothingness, that field of pure potentiality, the unmanifest energy where all is one, where we already are in all the dimensions simultaneously, and so on and so forth, it already exists within each and every one of us. And so we don't have to just aim to go to the fifth. Jesus showed us Ascension so beautifully. He didn't come to show us that we were sinners. He came to show us that, we are immortal being and becoming, and we can transcend and, death and come back and walk the earth, or, go to a higher energy and be immortal. So that's what he came to show us, and that's what we're all potentially becoming. But obviously different beings on the planet, as my beautiful star child, she's only 12, Zena said. I said, Zena, are people waking up? And she said, some are waking up and some are still sleeping. So that's why we see the polarities playing out, such as Boston, I personally feel, was part of the Illuminati setup to continue to create fear on the planet, artificial fear.
Absolutely. There's a couple things as you bring up Ram Dass and his teacher, his Indian teacher. There's a story that one of Ram Dass's lessons is that, Ram Dass, before he became Ram Dass, he was a Harvard professor of psychology, and he was friends with Timothy Leary, and They traveled with, did a lot of stuff with the Grateful Dead back in the 60s and 70s.
The fathers of the New Age.
Right, and they did, of course, it's very well known, they did a lot of LSD to expand their consciousness and stuff like that. But here's the real story, is that he went to India looking for a guru, and he found his guru. And he'd been with his guru for a while, and then his teacher said to him, he said, let me have some of that stuff that you say expands consciousness. And he took it, and he took the whole vial. And, Ram Dass was scared because he knew that amount of stuff was going to send his teacher into another consciousness. And he was scared for his teacher. And then his teacher said to him, I don't need this. I'm already where this drug takes you.
Yes.
And beyond that. And so what that drug does is it takes the Western mind that's so wrapped up in, I have to pay bills, and I have to do this, and I have to do that, and I get caught up in it because it's just
mind
it's
energy.
Part of it.
It's the mind energy,
right.
Isn't it?
And,
the DMT molecule. There's a beautiful film now. I've been posting it on Facebook. I think it's called the Solar Revolution or something like that. And they're talking about the scientists bridging metaphysics with physics. And, that's exactly it. Science can't totally define everything, because what we define, we limit. And the true scientists now understand that everything is grand mystery. It cannot be explained. It is pure potentiality, and it just goes on and on and on and on. And ultimately, we don't know what we don't know. And that's really important. And I'm just throwing in for our listeners that many of them have heard a lot about, embodying the soul, and, of course the DNA is moving from 2 to 12 helix, and all this stuff, and of course it's really important to come into this heart energy. But if we go into silence, if we go into meditation, if we learn to quiet the mind, to detach, to become the detached witness of the mind, my second book, The Buddha Speaks to the Buddha Nature Within, gives many, many powerful energies to help you with that, as does Jeremy's book, Peace, Be Still, and many other lovely books and, teachers out there and processes. So if whatever it takes to, whether it's breathing or nature or children, to quiet down, to begin to observe the mind is just there to limit, to control, to make something right and make something wrong, to judge, to separate, and it'll keep oscillating between the polarities. So what the great Vedas, take us back to is the transcendence of all of that, without too many words, through the practice of meditation, through the practice of chanting, through maybe devotion, through chanting, with full heart. And that opens up the heart energy, which Drunvalo talks about so much, and so many others. Lilu Mace, she does this Juicy Living Tours, and she's gone and interviewed all the top teachers on the planet. On and on she goes, and it's wonderful. And she came back and made a little clip the other day, and she said, I'm not even bothered about what these teachers are saying and the techniques and their books. What I'm really after now is the energy of the simplicity of how can we all come together now and share and open our hearts. And isn't that beautiful?
I think that's where a lot of
but otherwise it doesn't matter to what we've read, does it?
No, because if people aren't, we want to bring people together in the heart. And I think the only way that can happen, and I've been experiencing this in my life, is I've been getting quiet, and I've been sitting in my heart, and I've literally just been saying, whoever hears the call, come. And
I feel your heart energy, Jeremy. We're all telepathic. We are in this exciting age of such amazing technology, but very soon, as many of us know, we're going to dump this technology because we are greater than our technology. Human beings are more important. That we are incredible miracles, and we've just fallen asleep. That was part of the game of this time. And it's time now to come back into this heart energy where we can be telepathic. I just put a YouTube clip on Facebook where these guys are walking on water. Now, they're not walking like, Jesus did maybe on water, and other great yogis, but, it's incredible. It's mind over matter, and all things are possible. So, I just can use telepathy to get through to Jeremy, or I can, use Facebook. I think I would still get through to Jeremy if I used, a telepathic message. It's very, very powerful. So I would say to our listeners, really connect to your hearts, ground yourselves, because this is bringing the energy down. Realize that your DNA is moving from 2 to 12. Realize that everybody is at their own speed, and so everybody's not going to essentially wake up at the same time. Though I believe, in my first book, The Divine Mother Speaks, where the goddess Hathor and the Divine Mother energies are saying very clearly that this is the intention now of the universe, that all 7 billion plus humans wake up to Christ consciousness, which is unity consciousness, which is beyond this polarity and war and greed and competition, etc., into an energy of heaven on earth, golden energy, which we would have had if Tesla was allowed to bring in that source of energy, which didn't have anything to do with fossil fuel and all the ecological pollution we've caused on this planet. So all of that is still with us right now, and our ET brothers and sisters, some of them are not essentially more advanced than us, some of them are. But there are many frequencies in many, many universes, and we are multidimensional, so we can tap into all of it. And it's time now, but it's a choice, is it not? It's very much conscious co-creation based on moment-to-moment choice, and we would recommend heartfelt choice, because that is heaven on earth.
Absolutely. And it's you were talking about communicating telepathy just before we were on the show, because I was having trouble connecting. I was literally, just while I was connecting, saying in my mind and in my heart, I'll be on in a second. And I actually got on, and I saw on the computer that you were on, and then I couldn't talk to you because I couldn't connect with the phone. And I was like, I'll be on in a second.
And I really got that because I have this, I grew up in Switzerland for a while, so I've got this terrible Germanic sort of, got to be on time. And I wanted to speak to you for a couple of moments before the show just to, chill and chat, which we do anyways on the show. And I got, on the third time that you tried, just seconds before the show, you'll get through to him, and it's totally cool, He's on the case, so I did get it.
Awesome.
And we felt each other's energy the first time we did a show, didn't we? I was in California, in Venice Beach, and you were in Florida, so we connected before we met physically.
Yep. You had just gotten off the plane, and you had left your luggage at the airport. You were flying in from Hawaii.
So, Jeremy, have you been feeling this intensity? I mean, I think this last week, I love living intensity. I am Miss Intensity, and I know you are too. And many, many, many of our listeners, are very powerful spiritual leaders and beings holding frequency. And, of course, we enjoy intensity. That's the whole point of the spiritual energy. It's about being alive and vital. But this last week, I really feel has been highly, highly intense, even for me. How do you feel?
You know what? I've been feeling the same thing, and I know a lot of people, my close circle, are feeling it as well. And I was actually gifted this week where I didn't have to do anything other than just be. And I literally just took advantage of, I had people calling me here and there, but I didn't have to do anything other than be in meditation all week and study.
Beautiful.
And so it was great for me to be able to. It was almost like, I do contract work, and so I was in between contracts, and so I had 9 days of nothing other than sitting in meditation and studying, and I just sat, so that intensity of that energy, I could run it through, and I call them breaking
I think
neuron
it's
patterns.
so important for America particularly right now, and of course there are some beautiful, powerful meditators you have in the States, and the greatest service that you can do for America right now, and all over the world, it's the same thing, but is to hold this energy of stillness and meditation. Yeah. It's just so important, and being in nature, of course, and being with the animals, and you're very lucky to have 2 doggies, and that's absolutely wonderful.
Oh yeah, I took them to one of the Indian temple mounds this week, and we sat and meditated on the mound, and course, my Rottweiler didn't exactly appreciate the meditation part. He was like, "Daddy, let's go play." No, anyway.
He wasn't very still, I bet.
Yeah, my shepherd was like laying down, going out in the cosmos with me, but he wanted to play.
Right,
but, you know,
right.
the nature, absolutely. I've been in parks all week long, and if you guys really, I mean, if you have trouble getting quiet out there, I mean, go on a place where you'll hear the birds and the water and stuff like that, and it'll start calming your inner being. You can get to the point, and I have to put it out there, because when we talk about meditation, I've been meditating since 1998, and you know, so I've been doing this now for 15 years. And I didn't really start to do heavy, deep meditations where I was really into a different level of consciousness, like a theta level of consciousness, until probably until like 2005. So it took me a good 7 years of practice in quieting my mind until finally I can get myself to a place to where, and now it just gets in, and I know you've experienced this, Rashmi, because you've been meditating longer than I have. And
I've been teaching
meditation.
It was the first thing I did was to start teaching meditation. The healing came after that, and then the other things like morphogenic healing and the writing of the books and making spiritual films all happened much, much later. But meditation did change my life completely, and I thought I could never do it because I was Miss Jet Set and always in different countries and living all over the world, which I do now. But at the time, you know, I was a disco queen, and I couldn't imagine. It's just life-changing, isn't it? I mean, it affects everything. And you don't have to meditate in the way somebody else meditates, or you don't have to just do TM meditation. You know, there are so many ways in which we can connect to the energy of meditation. We don't even have to sit cross-legged and contemplate our navels, essentially. You can do walking awareness and mindfulness and watching. And sometimes, you know, just I'd like to bring in this energy of sharing as well now, because the other thing I'm observing, you know, thanks to this technological age we're in, we are able to tap into so many people and so many systems and so many spiritual communities, which I do physically all over the world because I live in 3 continents and teach all over the world and work all over the world. But on the Internet, we can do it even more intensely, and I find that a lot of people are talking about this, that, and the other spiritual things, but, you know, true sharing is when you let people, for example, on Facebook, you know, the people that I really respect are the people like Laura Eisenhower who allow other people to put their stuff on her wall, you know, and she doesn't take it off. Now, obviously, if it's something offensive or she doesn't resonate with it in a deep way, then she'll take it off. But, you know, myself and you, Jeremy, and Laura Eisenhower, and others like that totally share in every aspect. I think Facebook's a great way of seeing where somebody's coming from, because if it's all just about oneself, no matter how great the teacher or, you know, that's not sharing, and that's not an energy of meditation, is it?
No.
Because when we meditate, we have this overflowing love, as Osho says, and then we can go and make love or, you know, spread love or share, etc., because that energy builds and it overflows, and then it's not, you know, like you're giving and depleting yourself. You're connecting and tapping into the universal energy which is within you, and then that overflows and touches everybody. So the sharing is just so important on Facebook, on the street, at the supermarket, wherever one is. You know, we can give a smile, we can give a flower. You know, people say, well, I don't have any money. You can always give something, as Deepak Chopra mentions in the 7 spiritual laws of success. It's just so important, this energy of sharing right now on the planet as part of Ascension.
We always make money such a priority when people say, well, I don't have anything to give. I'm just going to be blunt. I think it's a cop-out sometimes because, and that is a judgment, because I know I've actually said the same thing. And when I really actually held myself accountable, money is not the only value in this world. And I just watched another minister. His name was Rick Warren recently, who says the most valuable thing you can give on this planet is your time. And so, you know, but more than that, it's just that you
and I would
connecting
say your presence, so if you're there and you're giving your time and being fully present, that's what some of the great guru teachers, saints, beings like Jesus and Buddha and just Neem Karoli Baba and Babaji and Ram Dass, when you're with them, they are totally present. And that's how I feel with Jeremy, you and I. I think we're totally present to each other and the energy morphogenically of our listeners during our show. We're totally here. I'm not thinking about, my next healing session or something, am I? And nor are you.
No, because we're heart to heart right now, and we're really engaged and really having a good discussion, which is what this is about, is connecting, and that's where we're missing our relationships out there, and when we're talking about ascending and bringing this planet up to a new level, it's going to take that engaging and being present, like Rashmi is saying, is that when you're working with your customers, or when you're working with your mom or your dad or your lover, or even, believe it or not, with your pets. If you're not present with those things, with those creatures or those souls that you love, and you're so set on everything else other than the now of the moment, then you're missing it. You're missing an opportunity to really connect on a soulful level.
All we're doing is that every one of us is just sharing on Facebook or just making radio shows like we're doing, or just only writing books as Jeremy and I do, My third book is coming out. If it's just that's not, it's just this constant dance and balance, where there's time to be in the world, to be ordinary, to interact in an ordinary way with everybody, to be open and loving of everybody, including people we don't agree with, essentially. That doesn't mean being a yes person, a people pleaser, but it just means just being human as well. It's not just, people say, well, this is my spiritual side, this is my human side, this is my ascension side, this is my public face, for my radio shows. Now, the beauty is many of us are making radio shows, many of us are doing YouTube shows, many of us are writing books. It's become many of us are making spiritual films like I am, and creating healing systems out of systems that we've learned, and just out of the blue, and doing beautiful art and making beautiful music and so on and so forth. But it's that balance, isn't it, that's really important, and also being able to be ordinary and bring all the different aspects together, the human, the divine, the mundane, the dark, the light, the shadow, the beauty, all of it,
And being fully present in that moment. That's really cute story for you guys. I have to share with you, because Rashmi's talking about being on Facebook and on the computer and writing and stuff like that. And if I am on my computer too long, and my dog will lay his head on the keyboard, like literally just lay it across the keyboard where I can't.
Oh, so sweet.
And then look at me like, it's time for you to get off this thing. It's so obvious. And when I had my cat, I would push my dog's head off, and my cat would lay her body across the table. So it was really, in some ways, that consciousness saying, it's time for you to get still. It's time for you to get quiet. And it was probably time an hour ago. We really got to pay attention.
Time for us to breathe, We tend not to breathe. I mean, I've had to be too much on social media because of the 3 books in such quick succession, and also just talking about the film and, just the different energy systems that one teaches and so on. But really, it can be so addictive, Facebook. I mean, I'm guilty of this myself, You get mesmerized with all the lovely photographs and all the lovely things that people are saying, and you connect, and you're able to connect in a way that you can't. I can't go to Holland Park and suddenly connect with those sort of beings, that I'm friends with on Facebook, and I can't just suddenly go to Holland Park and bump into Jeremy there. It's not going to happen. So it is easy to slip into that, and of course it's wonderful, but we really do, as Jeremy says, have to, disconnect, don't we, and find that lovely balance between everything, and not make something right and something wrong, and something spiritual and something not spiritual, and something dark and something light, we were going to talk a little bit about the dark and the light, and, the whole, what I love is this Anelia Benz when she talks about fear as being the biggest thing to clear before Ascension. And I totally agree with that, because as A Course in Miracles teaches us, and we know, everything is either love or fear. And fear is just an illusion, but it's an illusion that is real to a point within 3D, or even the bridging between 3 and 4D, because in the 4D as well you can go into the lower astral planes, as we all do sometimes in our dreams and otherwise, and we have little nightmares and so on, and there's a lot of releasing going on. So this energy of Nepsis, or the empty chalice, we have to keep emptying all the conditioning, all the things we think we are, including spiritual and a human and a body and a name and a nationality and a profession, and all that has to start going out the window. And then the dichotomy, or the paradox, is beautiful, which is that then we can be all those things, but we know that we're just playing a role on the stage of life, like Shakespeare. So coming back to Anelia and fear, she gives wonderful techniques on her website on how to deal with fear. And I think that's not discussed enough by various people, because it's really important. I think, we've got massive chronic fear, and also HARP and injection of, false fear on the planet through various staged events and so on. And it's really important to keep processing that and healing ourselves and going to healers for that process. And just through meditation, doesn't that dissolve a lot of our fear? Jeremy, what do you feel?
Absolutely. And one of the techniques I want to share with you guys, two things. One is that if you really pay attention to the signs around you, consciousness or God or the divine or whatever you want to refer to as a higher, oversoul, is dropping little tidbits of things for you to watch for and pay attention to. And how that really starts coming to you, and how you can really start paying attention, is you start developing a relationship to that inner divinity. And by talking to it, literally I have a conversation with my inner divinity all day long. And I sit there inside of myself, and I'm saying, if this is, I'll just ask it a question. If this is what I'm supposed to do, show me a sign. But you can just really start developing that by having that conversation with it. So you have almost this inner stillness, like you're with your best friend all the time, and you're just speaking with them and enjoying yourself, because literally that inner spark of divinity is your best friend. And it's the best friend you're ever going to have, because when you have a solid relationship with that, it's really just going to show you the signs everywhere. But the second thing is that, when we're so busy wrapped up out here with all of our relationships out here, or social media and that kind of stuff, it's very difficult for us to have that inner relationship with that divine, because you can't even hear it, and it's been trying to talk to you for a long time. It's trying to surface and even drops things in your lap, and there's just so many things that where we want to jump really fast on decisions because our outside stimulus is so strong. But that inner self is saying, just wait, dear one, just get settled, just be balanced, just be grounded, and just hold on for a second. Be patient, be mindful. And then literally now that I've been doing this for a while, and I go shopping with my inner divinity. I go shopping for cars. I book my tour with my inner divinity. I plan out radio shows. I think this one I just said, in my mind I said, I got to start thinking about when Rashmi and I are going to do this again. And she emailed me a couple of days later and said, when do you want to do the next show? And I looked at the calendar and
that's because I'm talking to Babaji all the time. He's my favorite in the divinity aspect.
Right.
He's the aspect of my higher self. So I just have, and he's always goofing around and being funny. And that's a better dialogue, definitely, as Jeremy's sharing, to have than to have a mind dialogue the whole time. And sometimes we have to get beyond that in a divinity dialogue as well, to just pure nothingness, pure stillness as well, which I'm sure Jeremy does too. But it's much better to have that kind of dialogue than to have the mind chattering on and, conditioned tapes. My mother said this and therefore I'm a bad person, or I have a funny nose, and so on. Because as Jim Self so beautifully explains in his work, all those 3D constructs are now being taken away. The memories are being taken away. The conditioning has been, the solid structures of can't, don't, limitation have all been taken away. But our habit is still there. And we have this habit where we want to hold on to the cuddly teddy bear of pain, suffering, because we're used to it. So we'd rather continue with that than have joy, bliss, ecstasy. I mean, there's loads of people I meet that don't want to be healed. So that's okay. Everybody has free will and everybody has choice. But if we become conscious that this is the payoff of our shadow self, this is the payoff of our, what should we call it, mind, which is that, it stays in that same comfy groove, then we can let go of that payoff for a much better payoff of bliss, simplicity, joy, and conscious co-creation.
Yeah. And you just enjoy the moment of life. You just enjoy life, actually. I looked up while we were talking, and I know that we were talking about Ascension not being in the mind, but there was just a few things. I just looked up Ascension characteristics, and one of them is, and this is actually really very true, is anxiety starts to disappear, and calmness starts to come in.
Yeah.
And then prayers are no longer considered to be conscious actions. In other words, you don't really have to think about it. You're really just there at all times, and healing begins. Yeah, you're flowing, absolutely. Healing begins with the absence of a mental disturbance, and that makes sense too, because the healing, the mental disturbance starts to fade away. It's just to transmute itself, I guess is a better word to say, because your worries start to fall away. You start turning to that conscious, the higher, the oversoul, or that higher aspect of yourself to supply you with your needs, as opposed to being, trying to control this outer stimulus or this outer world. And you get amazed over and over again. It becomes such an exciting world because you're trusting, absolutely. And you just start to fall into a flow.
And then there's this synergy and synchronicity, and things start happening, and there's this compassion, isn't there? There's a compassion. There's definitely a great. It's not even a need. It's just a dance of service. But you don't say I am serving or I am a servant of the divine. You don't have all those concepts. It just happens, doesn't it? I mean, we don't even have to think, oh, well, in a kind of 3D kind of way that we're going to make a radio show. It just kind of happens, doesn't it? Because our whole beingness is sort of moving towards, how can we share? How, just overflowing with that creativity and compassion. How would you see that, Jeremy?
How our mind switches into being more compassionate and in flow. Is that what? I'm sorry.
This where we don't say, oh well, I'm going to serve, I'm going to make a radio show. That kind of, me separate from everybody else, my ego self, sort of thing. It just sort of flows and happens, doesn't it?
Flows, absolutely.
Because the intention is.
Well, it's kind of like how we started this show. Because I had asked you to do
organic.
A show for,
organic might be a good word.
Organic is a good word for it, and how we came up with this 2013 and beyond is because one day we just decided that we were recording for another event that I wanted to record for, and then we decided to do another one, and this did so well on YouTube that we decided to do once a month because we really wanted to start touching people and providing a tool or a mechanism for things that were going to happen in the months to come after, December 21st, 2012. And it's just kind of flowed. I mean, we didn't really plan it out. It just kind of happened. And so, I mean, that's one thing, like the monkey mind, as some people want to refer to it as, wants to plan everything out and make it very regimented and have a project plan and how they're going to do it. And I think if we just let things be how they are, they will flow naturally the way they're supposed to be, and they flow how we are inside of ourselves. So our vibrations pull to the people that we're supposed to be with, and those people pull to where we're at. I mean, if I hadn't have decided to do a radio show, over 2 years ago, I probably wouldn't have met Rashmi, or maybe I would have. It would have just been in a different way. And so
I'm really glad you did, though.
Yeah.
Wow, it's just been 2 years, and you've done so many shows, and we've expanded it onto our own radio show besides Soul Talk Radio, and you've done other stuff as well. So, yeah, I mean, these tools are just fantastic for us to reach out. I'm so grateful for all the other radio shows that I listen to with, Mark, Dr. Dream, and Laura, and Helen Lipson, and Sonia Pascal, and so many other beautiful, Cesarina, and we've done a whole load of them, haven't we, through our books. And now I'm coming to the States. I thought I was going to India first, but because I live in 3 continents plus, it's a challenging journey, but it's what I've chosen to do. So I'll be in Charlottesville probably around the 4th of July, and I'll be doing the publicity for, just getting out and doing radio shows for Shiva Speaks, Conversations with Mahavatar Babaji, but also for the Buddha Speaks, which has only been out for 6 months. So, for my publisher, this is a huge challenge because he has never published so many books in such quick succession. But the Ascended Masters, are pressing for these books to be out there. The Divine Mother Speaks, The Healing of the Human Heart, Buddha Speaks, The Buddha Nature Within, and Shiva Speaks. These are powerful, powerful energies and tools, and Jeremy's book, Peace Be Still, The Energy of Peace. They're really important for this wake-up time. To connect one, as I keep saying, beyond the words, beyond the concepts, beyond the intellectualization, into just the frequency, just the energy, just as a tree can so quickly connect us to that groundedness and heaven on earth, just through hugging the tree, as I did this afternoon in Holland Park before I came back home to get ready for the show.
Yeah. I was just feeling the energy between us is pretty strong. Just really enjoying it.
We send energy out to all our listeners and everybody everywhere, so that, whatever work we do yesterday, the work that Rosie and I did for Babaji, which we do once a week for Europe and the world, but particularly England, Europe, and the world, we send that energy out everywhere, to everyone everywhere, in every universe, really, because all is one, all is one, all is one. And that's, it's not okay to just understand the concept of all is one and then say, I only like this or I only like that, and this is good and that is bad, or, I resonate more with this than that. It's good to have the discrimination, but at a certain level, all is one. So if all is one, where is all this resonance and lack of resonance, It's so freeing, actually.
Absolutely. I just did I've been doing these shows that are just me speaking, and I did one on the darkness and the archons, and I mentioned that is a part of ourselves. And
are these radio shows?
Yeah, I'm calling them Real Talk with Jeremy McDonald, and they're just me talking for 20 to 30 minutes about a subject.
I have to check that out. Yeah.
What I was getting at is I had a comment on one of them. Said this person said, the Gnostics were very clear that the archons were separate and they were trying to infiltrate our psyche. And I asked the question. I said, well, if we're oneness, if we're all one, how could anything be separate from us? And I think that's a really hard concept for people to grasp onto. That yes, there is an individual consciousness of Rashmi and of Jeremy, but we're still one. And it's because our separated mind can't comprehend the oneness. And there's a feeling, there's an energy that's built between us right now, and I can feel, even though you're in London and I'm in Tampa, Florida, there's really no separation. And
absolutely no separation.
Our consciousness is there because we think we have a big pond between us, but we really don't. That's in the 3D world, but really on a soulful level, there's no separation at all, and that's where we really got to come.
This is the energy of ascension. This is the key of ascension, is the soulful energy. I like the way Jeremy puts that, soulful energy. So slow down and become silent, because that voice within each of us is so quiet. It's so silent. I'm actually finding, Jeremy, that I've always had a problem with loneliness in my life, because I'm a number 7, which is a very scientific, spiritual number. It's a hermit number. And the number 4 in numerology, which is about grounding spirituality. So that's what's happening in my life, interestingly enough. And as a spiritual aspirant, it's very important to spend time alone and be alone and, be quiet and so on. But now I'm finding that I'm actually really, really enjoying my own company and myself much more than, I always have anyways, but much more with the time to come. And then when I'm with people, then I enjoy that tremendously as well, because I don't really see the separation, But just being in one's own energy is I think it's just absolutely crucial now.
It's the greatest gift you
what
can
I call
give
the vertical plane, connecting to the vertical plane, as opposed to just constantly being in the horizontal plane, which is normal. We have to be in the horizontal plane, and we all are. But the vertical plane, our connection to the center of the earth, our heart to the heart of the earth, our heart to the heart of the galactic core, that is the vertical plane. And as we strengthen that vertical plane, when we just even intend it, just through our attention plus intention equals manifestation, boom, you're in that energy. And then no matter what chaos is going around you, you start emanating that heaven on earth energy. And that is the greatest service you can do this world and this ascension process.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a gift. It's a real gift in this life.
It's such an exciting time. It's such an amazing time to be on earth, and we are all going to the internet is just so showing us how interconnected we are. It's showing us that oneness. Whether we resonate or don't resonate or agree or disagree or find something dark or light or the Illuminati and the us and the them, all that becomes one big, huge soup in the internet, and that's called the internet. It's just, and that's what oneness is, in oneness, in the God energy, in the God-Goddess energy, all is allowed, especially in this zone that we're in. Free will is paramount. But unfortunately, we haven't really had free will the last 13,000 years because of all the domination and control. So now we have this free will, and it's very scary because a lot of us have a blank canvas now. We have let go of conditioning. We've released a lot of stuff. We've been at it for years and years and years. So now we have this blank canvas, and of course it's scary. It's like, who am I? Where am I? What is this new paradigm? And what am I going to do with it? And where are my other people that I can play with and co-create with? So are you feeling a bit of that sort of energy? Because I certainly do feel some of that, actually, of this blank canvas, and what am I going to paint on it now?
What I've been feeling, I think it's somewhat similar, is that I just feel like we're getting ready to step into this something huge that we didn't even comprehend. But I'm not sure what it is. I just know we're on the verge, and so I kind of feel a little bit like, okay, I'm not really sure what to do next. But I realize I don't need to know. I just need to know that I need to be calm and still. And so, I've been feeling that for probably about 9 months now, and I'm like, I just feel like we're about ready to step into this. Yeah.
It's this feminine energy of allowance, of being, of total love and compassion, of oneness, of sharing. It's that feminine energy in the hearts of men and women. And it's the little inner child, the divine child. Let's not even say the inner child that is wounded, but the divine child within each of us, and the children and the women that are going to take us forward into the new. Because this is the time of the divine feminine. And that's not a sex, male-female thing. It's the whole brainness. It's the making okay. It's the bridging of all, polarities and dichotomies and conflicts and whatever, and making everything okay. That doesn't mean that discrimination and all discernment doesn't exist, because, of course, we have the right to say no, and we still have choice. And for the first time now, in a long time, many people that have been asleep are going to begin to exert that choice. And that freedom is scary. It requires courage, it requires presence, it requires maturity, and it requires a large dollop of the energy of responsibility. We no longer, that was the payoff. Oh, my government did it, my mother did it, my father did it, my school did it, my ex-boyfriend did it, or husband. No, we are now fully responsible for ourselves, each and every one of us, and collectively. The ETs aren't going to come and save us. Yes, they are, some of them, like the Syrians and the Pleiadians, are doing massive amount of work for us, but we still have to do it ourselves, each and every one of us, don't we?
When it comes down to even the Illuminati, we wanted to blame the Illuminati or the governments, and and then there's and that kind of stuff. And I'm not going to say I haven't studied all the conspiracies and stuff like that, because I have, but here's the reality. Once you start falling into blaming another group of people or another person for where you're at, then your mind starts twisting, and then you start going into a mind poison of self-creating even more. And that's why we want to really just love all aspects, be aware, speak our truth, understand who we are, be conscious, be mindful, be in balance. But if we're putting all of our attention into who's to blame for where the world is at right now with its problems, then you're already out of balance. You're out of balance because you're focused.
That blame and shame. Shame has been another big issue. So blaming and shaming ourselves or another is like politics. That's how politics happens, is you make somebody weak or bad or horrible or shameful, and then you have power over them. It's the same if you do it to yourself. Whether you do it to yourself or you do it to others, that is not a healing energy. Healing means making whole and complete. That means even embracing the shadow within us, the dark. The dark has played a role. It has played a role of defining something. That's why it has been allowed in 3D reality. We came to experience this contrast. If we just had white paint on a white canvas, that would have been boring. So, yes, we've reached a very, very, very deep, dark area of this contrast in the last 13,000 years of the sleep cycle. And now it's time to wake up out of this contrast, back into the oneness. And in that oneness, in the 5D, yes, we start with this white paint on the white canvas, but then we have these new celestial colors, these new harmonics of great joy, ecstasy, bliss, oneness, sharing, that are way beyond the comprehension of the left hemisphere of our brain, something we understood before we sank Atlantis 13,000 years ago. And that's coming now. And it's just so, let's say, mind-blowing, because that's what it's going to do. It's just literally blowing the mind, so let the mind blow,
Well, I am ready. I'm ready. And by the way, we're down to the last couple minutes. So I wanted to just put it out there that Rashmi's website is rashmikilnani.com, and I'm going to spell that out for you. It's www.rashmi, it's RASHMIKHILNANI.com. And then mine is jeremymcdonald.net, www.jeremymcdonald.net. But it's in the comments or the description below in the show as well. So we have another, I believe, 2 minutes. Is there any last things that you want to say before we end?
Well, thank you so much, Jeremy, for organizing this and sending our audience a great lot of energy of conscious co-creation, of sharing, of presence, trust, and inner silence within their free will. And please do follow both of us on Facebook. I have reached my maximum of 5,000 friends, but I share a lot of information, love, healing, and joy of many, many teachers, not just my own books and things, and so does Jeremy. So do follow us on Facebook, and we hope to see you next month or whenever we do our next show as guided. And please do check out my new book, Shiva Speaks, Conversations with Mahavatar Babaji, when it comes out, which will be soon, and The Buddha Speaks, Peace Be Still, Jeremy's book, and The Divine Mother Speaks, The Healing of the Human Heart, and a lot of love. And Jeremy, I hope to see you in Tampa one of these days.
Definitely, and when your tour is being booked in the United States, I know a couple stores in Tampa. So.
Or you come to Charlottesville again, and we'll do some more filming as we did last time.
Absolutely. Well, you guys all have a wonderful time and enjoy the show, and share this on your Facebook page if you would like or you feel it. And definitely, Rashmi are here to help. So love you guys.
And you're going to put it on YouTube also, probably, right?
Yeah. Yes, I will.
Okay. One more job. Okay, we'll be sharing it everywhere, including Twitter. Lots and lots of love, Jeremy. Lots and lots of love, everybody. God bless. Thank you.
Bye-bye.